Story 1. Veterinary medicine is not about playing with puppies and kittens all day. There are no kickbacks or even a decent wage in most places. Story 2. I cannot build multimillion-dollar apps on a whim, repair your computer, fix your internet, configure your printer, revive your phone, set up your email, or hack into any system, all for free. I merely search online better than the average bear. Story 3. There is a beer called Edmund Fitzgerald. Is that not insensitive to the people who died? I just stock shelves. I am not responsible. Story 4. I am an archaeologist. We do not dig up anything related to dinosaurs. We leave that to paleontologists. Story 5. I am a mathematics teacher. I did not personally invent mathematics to anger you. Story 6. Nonprofits are still organizations, and they must generate a surplus to keep the doors open and sustain their mission. People who work in nonprofits deserve to earn a reasonable salary for their work. Story 7. I cannot fix your problem if your ticket only claims that something is wrong without describing what is wrong and why. Story 8. I am a self-employed flight instructor with extremely high overhead. The aircraft I financed through my limited liability company costs as much as my house. I charge high rates because I have to. I am not getting rich from it. Story 9. There are different types of lawyers. You would not take your child's pediatrician if you needed heart surgery or a hip replacement. Likewise, you should not ask a prosecutor how to plan your estate and expect them to know from memory, nor should you ask corporate and house counsel to handle a driving under the influence matter. Story 10. I was a chef, kitchen manager, and line cook. I didn't eat well because I cooked good food for others. Once I got home, I was too tired to make anything, so most of those meals were microwaved. On the job, my meals were usually whatever scraps I could eat hastily over the trash can. Story 11. I am a teacher. It is difficult to describe how overstimulating it is to be in a classroom all day. Story 12. No. My 80,000-pound tractor trailer cannot stop in the same distance as your 3,000-pound car. Story 13. I am keeping you in the hospital because you are sick and need more observation. It is not for my profit. If I am discharging you, it means we have done what we can in the hospital and the rest of your care and recovery can be managed more comfortably and at lower cost at home, with less risk of acquiring a hospital-acquired infection. Story 14. It is not basically part-time. I am a teacher. During half-terms and summer holidays, we are still working. Lesson preparation, marking, and teacher training days. In a typical week, we work beyond school hours, with hours of marking each evening. Story 15. Electrical grid equipment can be very large, expensive, complex, heavy, specialized, and fragile. Since the decentralization of the grid, this has been a political and public issue in my country. Story 16. Because I am a nurse, people assume I know everything about every medication and illness and so on. My specialty is cardiology. I have been a cardiac nurse for 10 years, so I know cardiology well. I broke my ankle earlier this year. My doctor assumed I knew about ankles because I am a nurse and addressed me accordingly. In fact, I knew nothing about ankles or orthopedic recovery. It was a bit humbling. Story 17. I am a booking clerk at a medical clinic. We are not making you wait intentionally or out of incompetence. We do not have enough doctors, nurses, or other medical professionals, and we are squeezing in as many patients as possible. Also, when you do not show up for your appointment, you occupy a space someone else would have gladly taken. Story 18. I work on enterprise-level information technology systems for a living. That does not mean I know why your particular device is not working. I have no idea why your TikTok videos sometimes do not load properly. The app probably has issues. And no, I will not fix your washing machine. Story 19. I work at a jewelry store. Yes, your ring repair costs that much because gold is $2,665 per ounce and you neglected repairs on it for 6 years. Please be reasonable. Story 20. Compressors rarely fail on their own. There is generally another issue at play. Check your warranty. If it is expired, you are not covered. I have 136 things on my plate. Fixing your mistake from 2, 5, or 10 years ago is not on that list. Story 21. I am a technical writer and understand the minimum technical background required to begin a white paper, manual, or procedure document, but I cannot write in a vacuum unless the developers, that is, actual technical people, explain what they do. Story 22. I can clean and sanitize your home, but if it is old and in disrepair, it will never look as clean as a well-maintained home. Some stains simply do not come out no matter how hard you work on them because the material is damaged. Story 23. Your bag of food is completely sealed when I pick it up. Due to company policy and, in many states, the law, I cannot open it. I cannot check for you to confirm that the restaurant included an item. If something is missing from your order, contact DoorDash or Uber Eats through the application to request a refund. No, I cannot obtain extra sauces that you did not order. Most restaurants charge for additional sauces. No, I cannot request changes to your order while I am picking it up. The special instructions field on the delivery page is for information such as a gate code. If you have special instructions for the order, include them in the order form before you place it. No, I cannot pick up cigarettes for you. It is against company policy and I will not risk my job. No, it is not a personal insult if I ask to check your identification. The company requires identification for age-restricted items, and I cannot legally hand over those items unless I check it. I know the application showed the item is available, but the store's inventory is not always updated and can be incorrect due to theft or shrinkage. If I say an item is out of stock, it is out of stock. No, I will not speed or rush to deliver your order. I will not risk getting a traffic ticket because of your time constraints. In the future, place your order in advance or schedule a delivery time using the application. I cannot force the restaurant to prepare your order any faster. During busy times, such as around noon, preparation may take longer even after I arrive. Story 24. I'm a chocolatier. Chocolate has an absurd shelf life, years if stored properly. The fillings also last a long time. Even things like peppermint patties will be good for 6 months. Yet everyone waits until the week before Christmas. I made or ordered that product for last year, and it probably sat in a warehouse for a year before I got it. Most confectionery fillings taste unpleasant once you know what goes into them. Caramel is probably 80% sugar and corn syrup by weight. Creams and peppermint patties are essentially just sugar and a bit of butter. Story 25. Industrial rope access technicians. Abseiling off buildings, bridges, cliffs, rigs, and so on is actually very safe. We have a better safety record than most professions. We do not receive danger pay. Abseiling is simply a means of reaching the worksite. We are paid for the skills we apply once on site. Story 26. I am a photographer. I don't know why I have to tell people this, but if it is in the frame, it is in the photo. I can fix some things in post, but my ability is limited. If you stand between me and your dog to offer a treat to get them to look up, I cannot see the dog. I will have a picture of your back. When I say, "Look at me, Mom," I mean it. If you are looking at your child and yelling at them to smile, when they finally do smile, you will be looking at them while they look at me, and only one of you will be smiling. Story 27. I am the middleman. Getting angry, yelling, screaming, and so forth is not the way to get me to help you or to go out of my way for you. I usually do my absolute best. But everyone is human and mistakes or oversights will happen. That is not a green light to treat me like trash. Story 28. I promise you, if you stop buying it, we will stop producing oil. Story 29. The best expression I heard is party prison. Yes, we have more time off than most. Most people leave after a single contract because of the menial tasks added to the job while you are on board, such as bingo sales, stocking a library, and other random duties. No, it is not living the dream. It pays well for a music job, but you are constantly trying to appease and avoid disappointing passengers who tell you to your face that it is not their favorite. Ask why you did not play a song. Ask why you do not know something or complain that there is no soap in their room. Everything you buy is expensive. Want to get off the ship? Going anywhere interesting costs $50 to $100. Internet is slow and expensive. People will betray you when you are in guest areas. You see some cool places, but mostly container ports and other ships because that is where you dock. You are almost always 30 minutes away from any beach or from the activities people imagine. Alcohol is cheap. so there are many intoxicated passengers on board. If you are 50 and want to get back into music, it is a great opportunity. Story 30. I am a surgeon. Just because I can do it does not mean I should. Story 31. I used OnlyFans for 3 years. What most people do not understand is that it is not a get-rich-quick scheme for the average person who is not a public figure and does not already have thousands of followers or an online presence. Anyone who makes a lot of money right away already had a following from somewhere. Many women who ask me about it think they just have to post a few nude photos behind a paywall and their subscription fee will be passive income. They often do not want to show their face or interact with people. Many men who know it is more than nudes think all you have to do is be attractive, sign up, make a sex tape, and charge $50 to $200 per sale and many paying fans will appear. Where did I get traffic for all those paying fans making me supposedly rich? OnlyFans does not have a discovery feature or a For You page. You are entirely on your own for promoting your page. You have to be consistent and figure out how to market yourself every day to bring in traffic and retain subscribers. You must have high engagement on your social accounts and on your OnlyFans if you want people to pay for anything. You are constantly creating content. Pictures, videos, Instagram Reels, TikTok videos, and finding other models to network with. It is crucial that you engage with fans and respond to direct messages. It is very time-consuming. Another secret is that most creators do not make most of their money from subscriptions or pre-made videos. They make most of their income from sexting, live streams, and custom content. Top earners making over $20,000 a month also earn a lot from other models with lower fan counts who pay a few $100s for promotions and from coaching. In short, OnlyFans is not a get-rich-quick scheme for attractive people who are not public figures and do not already have a large social media following. To succeed, you must market yourself, post content daily to your social accounts and your OnlyFans, maintain high engagement, and be consistent in all aspects of running your page. Story 32. Addiction is a biological compulsion to self-regulate. There is no shame in it. It is an instinctual behavior, not a moral one. Story 33. It is a job nobody has heard of, so it requires an explanation even though the title is descriptive. Reliability engineer. Story 34. I am unemployed because I cannot find work, not because I like being unemployed. Story 35. Jargon is very useful and important. Describing things with vague words is not helpful. A switch is not a hub. A router is not a modem. Story 36. I am in higher education administration. No, I do not make a lot of money, and I work very hard dealing with both administrative matters and student issues. I put out fires every day. I also teach on the side to make okay money. The upside is that my role is critical, so I have job security. There are indeed some administrators who have cushy jobs that should be cut, but the majority of administrators I know are in roles similar to mine. Story 37. The people you speak with on the phone have no authority to change the rules. Story 38. Just because I work in surgery doesn't mean I can diagnose the weird mole on the back of your nephew's head. Story 39. If you are drunk and loudly discussing very personal problems, do not do it at the bar, because it will be gossip among the staff for an indeterminate period, depending on how scandalous it is. Story 40. As a pharmacy technician, I understand that people are often medically uninformed. What I do not understand are people who say they do not know medical jargon but then claim to know more than we do about our job and the law. They often expect prescriptions to be ready when they are not and assume their doctor will always make their copay $0. I can guarantee your doctor does not have your insurance information. Otherwise, you would not be here. Everything else is nonsense. Story 41. Serving people is exhausting, albeit morally rewarding work. Knowing our clients have hope and resilience makes it worthwhile, but some days it is a heavy lift and weighs on your soul. Story 42. People just nod and say how interesting and move on. I am a proofreader for court reporters. Yes, I silently correct you everywhere. Story 43. No, I do not have a big red button on my desk labeled "Fix this person's internet." Story 44. Teacher. I spend way too much of my time asking the copier to make copies. Story 45. People think engineers sit at a computer all day building models and pondering physics. In reality, we spend half the day doing that and the other half answering emails and sitting in meetings. Story 46. Just because the industry makes a lot of money, it does not mean I do. Story 47. Your workplace is peaceful and quiet. You probably just sit there and read a book all day. Story 48. I do not have a magic bullet for everything, and I cannot guarantee your problem will be solved in one visit. Story 49. It's not about your education and experience, but about how you interact with clients and, more importantly, whether they like you, feel comfortable sharing financial and personal information, and trust you. Story 50. I am an environmental, health, and safety manager for an industrial plant. People see me walking around and think my job is easy. They do not realize I am walking around to remind them politely about precautions. I do my audits and inspections after they go home, so they do not see me walking around with a clipboard. I need them to always be comfortable approaching me with any question because the alternative is hearing nothing. They assume I am looking for someone or something to write up. I will always call out unsafe conditions and ensure highly dangerous acts are addressed, sometimes through discipline, but my goal is never to write someone up or get them fired. It is to train people to do the right thing so they go home healthy and safe every day. For those who belittle what we do, I have met plenty of bad people in my field, but remember we are there to keep the company compliant with laws created for your health and safety and to keep you safe. I realize many of you think safety makes things harder and more expensive, but watch a few online videos on the indirect costs of an injury. That trip to get stitches may look like only $1,000 to $3,000, but it does not include lost productivity of coworkers, the time management spends on root cause analysis that could be better spent on the floor improving your work, and other impacts. A simple broken bone can cost $10,000 to $15,000 in direct medical costs. Indirect costs can easily exceed $90,000 in higher insurance premiums, lost productivity, and related expenses. Story 51. We are not overpaid thanks to collective bargaining or because we strong-arm poor companies into giving us higher wages. We traded years of our lives to complete apprenticeships and be recognized as journeymen in our trade. Our pay reflects our dedication and our ability to provide quality labor in exchange for a fair wage. Story 52. A cure for cancer is not what many people imagine. It stresses me out how easily people assume it is simple, to the point they believe there is a global effort to keep the population cancer-ridden. It feels like a psychological operation and irrational nonsense. Effective treatments are more profitable than ineffective ones. People who think otherwise are poorly informed and refuse to learn. They criticize researchers while complaining about the lack of progress. It annoys me because if they cared as much as they claim, they would earn a Doctor of Philosophy degree and actually help. Story 53. My job as a program manager is actually hard. I wish it involved sitting around all day like the internet seems to think. Story 54. Your taxes do not pay my wages, and unless you are sending something, you are not the customer. You are the mark. Story 55. I am not a volunteer. I am a full-time salaried employee with benefits, an office, and a staff of 15. Story 56. Just because I'm not trying to kill myself, it doesn't mean I don't want to. I'm sorry you're feeling this way. Are you thinking about killing yourself right now? If you are in immediate danger, please call your local emergency number or go to the nearest emergency department. In the United States, call or text 988. If you are elsewhere, please contact your local emergency services or a crisis line. If you'd like, I can help you find local resources or contact someone you trust. Story 57. Attending school as a student does not mean you understand what the job of a teacher involves. Story 58. I have nothing to do with the social media app. The most I can code is a Hello World program in Python. I work in the infrastructure department on a data center campus. No, I cannot unlock your account or add features on a whim. Story 59. In most elections, the candidate and campaign account for only 0.5 to 1% of the outcome. You can predict most elections based on 3 factors outside a candidate's control. 1. The state of the economy. If the economy is strong and consumers are confident, the incumbent party tends to be re-elected. If the economy is weak, the challenger tends to win. 2. Which party is in control? Incumbents usually win re-election, but no party holds power for more than 1 to 2 election cycles. 3. The popularity of the current administration. If the administration is unpopular, the challenger will probably win. People obsess over campaigns and personalities, treating victories and losses as matters of character. If 2 of these 3 factors favor one side, that side will probably win the election. Story 60, 3 things. First, a driver's license is a privilege, not a human right. Second, the customer is not always right. If you were convicted of driving under the influence, I will take away your ability to drive. Third, sob stories do not work on me. Story 61. Very few people understand how laminated veneer lumber is made and are usually still quite confused after I explain it. Story 62. I'm a pawnbroker, which also makes me a debt advisor and a mental health support worker. Story 63. I work in information technology support. Honestly, about 80% of problems are solved by rebooting the computer, terminal, or phone. The remaining 20% requires detective work. Story 64. I'm retired, but when I was a professor, everyone would ask how I liked not having to work during the summer, which is when most of the work had to be done. Story 65. In elder care, staff were instructed to allow a person who has fallen to try to get up on their own, within reason. The idea is that they may not realize where they are hurt until they attempt to stand. Falling on the buttocks may cause pain there, while the wrist could be broken from trying to catch oneself. Physically lifting an elderly person from the floor without their assistance can worsen injuries, dislocate limbs, and tear skin. Can also appear very harsh. Story 66. When I mention my profession on a subreddit dedicated to it, people often claim it isn't real and harass me. Story 67. Medical school professor. The general public thinks I brainwash doctors to serve the pharmaceutical industry. They also think lecturing is 99% of my job, when it is closer to 1%. Teaching makes up roughly 30% of my work, but very little of that is traditional lecturing. Students think I only care about my Doctor of Philosophy. They have no idea what I researched for my doctoral thesis because it is not relevant to what I teach. I spend a huge amount of time studying, testing, and engaging with the current state of the subjects I teach, how students will be tested, and how the material is relevant to them. When I see former students years later, they tell me I gave them what they needed. But during a course, it is hard to convince them that I want them to do well on their medical licensing exams. Students also think my only role is to teach classes and answer emails. I do not live in my office on weekends. Actual lecturing is about 1% of what I do. Story 68. Time is valuable for a legitimate, skilled tradesperson, especially those in highly specialized or dying trades. Story 69. I am a case manager, not a miracle worker. My job is to help you get access to the resources you need, not to obtain them for you. Story 70. Healthcare software is complex, so we cannot make it overly simple for physicians. Thousands of features and configurations are required. Story 71. Some will say the job is absolutely overpaid. Others will say it is underpaid relative to the amount of work, obligations, and responsibilities. If the job works well, it can be almost boring. If it is dysfunctional, there is a significant amount of work behind it. Story 72. I am a clinical study coordinator. It is such an invisible niche that we are often mistaken for medical care staff. We are not medical professionals, and we do not keep the funds that come in through studies. We receive a normal salary. Story 73. Just because an app works perfectly on your personal laptop using your home wireless network does not mean it will work the same on your work laptop using your office wireless network. Story 74. If they would all wait 10 seconds for me to put the carts away instead of standing in the way to pull from the stack, I could be out of their hair and we would not be running low on carts while I stand there for 5 minutes at a time waiting for someone to get the fuck out of the way. Story 75. I am an ambulance nurse. I can manage a cardiac arrest, but I have no idea how to treat your child's rash. Story 76. I work in film and television. It is not a glamorous job. Story 77. We do not all just drive around all day chatting it up with our customers. Most of us walk and do not have time to stop and chat. Story 78. They would not need my help if they read the information on the page instead of pressing the submit button when things are not working. Story 79. I never add numbers or do any other kind of math in my head, so I'm not good at mental arithmetic. Story 80. I do not have to like everybody. It is okay if I do not remember something that is not basic. Story 81. Just because it has a screen doesn't mean it's an information technology problem. Story 82. We are not just there to massage you. We learn how muscles work, and you need to reinforce any loosening we do to tight muscles, since most of the time the tightness is caused by a muscle doing a job it is not supposed to do. We need to get the right muscles activating. Story 83. Restarting your computer does not fix everything. The number of high-level executives and managers who make the same information technology crowd joke every day but cannot change their own password after repeated instructions is astounding. Dealing with children would be easier. Story 84. Just because the pay range is $90,000 to $120,000 does not mean you deserve or have the experience for a $120,000 salary. Story 85. 1/14 of an inch of paint won't hide the imperfections of very poor framing and mudding jobs. Story 86. Please remember that we can only work with what is provided. We are not miracle workers. If you do not reinforce learning at home, your child will not be as successful. The early years, birth to 6, are crucial. Read to your child. Talk with your child. Ask many questions and encourage them to come up with answers. Make them think. Story 87. If it is so hot or cold, why don't you just turn on the air conditioning or heating? Seriously, if I'm there, it means there is no air conditioning or heating and I am fixing or installing it. Story 88. I cannot just connect a diagnostic scan tool and have it tell me what is wrong with your vehicle. The tool returns a code that tells me where to start looking. Your Jeep with giant wheels, large tires, and a lift kit will never drive like the Mercedes you traded in for it. And nothing I can do or recommend will change that. Story 89. Many people know that we get paid a lot, but they think we only count pills and put them in bottles. Story 90. We make whiskey. Comes out of the still clear, and the barrel gives it color. Story 91. I don't know if it's true, but I was told they stopped calling it housekeeping at the hospital where I work because someone called and asked us to do their dishes. Our job is sanitation, not cleaning, and we are not allowed to clean up bodily fluids unless it is in a public space. Story 92. Most people working in kitchens are there because they have nowhere else to go or do not know what else to do. They are often not passionate about food, do not love the job, and many do not care enough to do basic tasks properly. They are usually supervised by their boss or by someone who actually cares. Also, there is a good chance that at some point in your life you have eaten food made by someone on crack. Story 93. Cars cannot talk. Not everything can be diagnosed or fixed in a day. I might be busy and have not yet gotten to your car. Story 94. They think it's easy and any idiot can do it. I'm a server at a steakhouse, and some people are too cheap to tip properly and think we deserve less than minimum wage. Story 95. Just because everything is working properly does not mean that I am not working. Story 96. Accountants cannot necessarily do complex math in their heads. That is what calculators and spreadsheets are for. Also, at the end of a meal, please do not just hand the restaurant bill to the accountant and expect us to calculate tips, determine amounts owed, and split the bill based on what everyone ate and drank without a calculator. Story 97. I work in a medical laboratory. Most nurses and doctors don't even understand what we do. Story 98. Lawyers cost so much not because we are price gouging assholes. We all have approximately $200,000 in student loan debt. That is why. Story 99. Professor, I do it for love, but I need the money, laughing out loud. Story 100. As a virtual assistant, people often misunderstand how challenging this work can be. They think I just sit at home, make lots of money, and have an easy job. In reality, it is a mix of juggling multiple tasks like managing schedules, handling clients, and meeting deadlines, while staying organized and professional. It is rewarding but far from effortless. Story 101. I cannot just copy and paste text into DeepL or Google Translate and simply send back what they produce. Most translations need to be adapted for the target audience, and most assignments require serious writing skills. I love my job, and no, you probably cannot do this on the side if you took a foreign language in high school and expect easy extra money. Story 102. We did not join to be government puppets to kill people overseas, or because we were in the bottom 10% of our graduating class. Story 103. I am currently a stay-at-home partner while I search for a job. The daily tasks are mind-numbingly repetitive, and you never get a day off. My partner has weekends off, but I am still on shift. Being a homemaker is a 24/7 job, and that is a constant struggle. Story 104. That we are some sort of magical saints who can endure all sorts of horrible things without it affecting us any less than it affects you. Nurse. Story 105. Gnats are a mendicant, a reaper for the sours, goes from city to city without shoes to see how long it takes for someone to show mercy by clothing the naked and selling them treasure in heaven. Story 106. I cannot perform miracles. If you do not provide me with data or tell me things, I will not know about them. Story 107. Heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. Does the rotary screw industry have many warranty issues? Story 108. If you pull the fire alarm, the sprinklers will not all activate at once. Story 109. Pedagogy and standards are not everything. It is communication and honesty with your students that make the learning process happen. You are on the same side, not adversaries. As soon as they see that, things progress. If you do not have that, all the pedagogy and standards in the world will not help you or them. Story 110. Most of us just kill ourselves by the time we get near retirement age. Story 111. It is not practiced only in consultation rooms or clinic areas. Story 112. Yes, we are aware of the bug. No, we could not convince the business to delay the production push. Story 113. I'm an accountant, but I don't know squat about your taxes. Story 114. I do not make the rules and I do not know why they are the way they are. I do not really care that much about them. I only make sure they are followed because that is what I am paid to do. Story 115. I'm retired now, but no, I did not stand in front of planes with light wands or look out of windows all day. Most days the most stressful decision was what to eat for lunch. I sat in a dark room and told people where to go. 99.9% of the time it was fairly routine. That pesky 0.1% of the time accounted for 99% of my salary. Story 116. Being a good chef is about how quickly you can adjust to disaster. Story 117. Cobweb, upbeat, unique, fade, badge, aback, liquid, sip, public, bells. Story 118. Working in information technology and development does not mean you know everything on the internet, understand how every menu in every software program works, or can explain all those things over the phone. Story 119. No, I cannot hack you just because you gave me your wireless network password. Story 120. Most people think my job begins and ends at a desk. They do not see the hours of continual learning, adapting, and problem-solving that leave me feeling like an amateur in a grand, ever-evolving performance. It is as if behind every polished outcome lies a chaotic workshop, part wrestling a bear and part arranging a living room. What they do not realize is that I am not just mastering tasks. I am also stewarding emotions, managing crises, and juggling many hats every day. In the end, it is not just a paycheck. It is the act of sculpting something worthwhile, even if only I see the intricate details. Story 121. It is every bit as boring as it sounds, but I bring my own fun to it. Story 122. We know the intermittent bug exists. We want to fix it, but no one can determine why it occurs. Story 123. People do not realize how much work running a business is. Yes, I am only in front of customers 4 hours a day, but I spend another 4 to 8 hours in the office resolving problems. Employees can handle the front desk, but resolving problems is delicate. You cannot offend your contractors, yet if you give in they will take advantage of you. It is a tightrope walk. Then there are product problems, customer problems, building issues, rent, taxes, and changing laws and codes that allow too little time to comply. There is monthly bookkeeping, payments, and shipments to check, plus ongoing maintenance. Employee care is crucial. You really want to keep the good ones. Even after work, you catch yourself thinking about work. Story 124. As physical therapists, we do more than give massages. Story 125. Engineering involves many small decisions whose outcomes are not fully known. Most of the time you do your best to figure them out and then quickly iterate when you miss something and it fails in users' hands. Story 126. My work schedule is very flexible. I work part-time, averaging 14 days per month. Story 127. Submarines are not detonating whales with sonar. Story 128. Our field is saturated, despite some people talking about an engineer shortage. Story 129. We are not ambulance drivers. Sometimes we drive and sometimes we ride in the back of the ambulance. Story 130. I follow a code of ethics. I cannot say that for everyone in my profession, but I do not take sides or show bias in my work. Story 131. I am a teacher. I care deeply about all my students and want the best for each of them. However, I have 30 students to manage at once. Sometimes keeping one student happy means making another student unhappy. Sometimes what is best for the group is not best for an individual. I am only human. I will make mistakes. Students have different personalities, and parents have different expectations. I do not hate your child, and I am not a bad teacher simply because I did not do something exactly as you wanted and your child is upset. Story 132. Ultimately, I have no control over what you receive. It is all mathematics and depends on the information you provide and verify. Story 133. It actually takes 8 hours to clean a school when you are the only night person. It would probably take less if it were not for all the dumb bullshit people do, especially teachers. Story 134. I'm a tire technician. Please learn basic information about tires. It will save your life. Story 135. I have no say in the odds of winning anything or the payout when they win something. Story 136. There are so many moving parts involved in making what I do happen. Departments, people, approvals, and so on. I am constantly having to follow up repeatedly because the next step cannot happen until the current one is approved. It is absolutely insane, and people are shocked when I tell them, sorry, that is not going to happen tomorrow. I need at least 2 weeks, and that is only if everything runs smoothly. When I start to explain why, they are even more shocked. Story 137. Insurance is not a magic service that fixes your problems. It is a financial instrument you purchased for a defined dollar amount or for an item's current market value. I did not make you spend $20,000 at 12% on a 10-year-old Hyundai Veloster. And no, it is not worth that much because you off-roaded it across 2 medians and an embankment. I am sorry you are in pain. I truly am. You will receive a payment of X dollars for the current market value of your vehicle based on data the government requires me to use, and you can discuss any remaining balance with your bank. Story 138. I work in information technology at a very old banking system. I use a personal computer but do not know much more than how to use it. Everyone always thinks I can fix all their personal computer issues. Story 139. Engineers need heroes to make their confounded designs work, and we electricians wear the cape. Story 140. I stand behind a lead-lined wall because I perform hundreds of X-rays each week. That exposure adds up and can become harmful over time. Having 1 or 2 X-rays without lead shielding is not going to kill you or cause cancer. We will normally provide shielding upon request. Story 141. My job exists. It's not just a room full of nurses and surgeons. That other guy across the operating room table isn't always another surgeon. Story 142. Enjoy wine. A flag was spotted. Numerous people hurried, and the person in charge proposed a theory about the insurance. Story 143. I had a 40-year career in information systems and data center management. My loved ones had no idea what I did, though they had no problem cashing my payroll checks. Their lack of understanding became an enormous obstacle in my marriage. which ultimately ended. Story 144. I am not a babysitter. I cannot find another job because when I explain what I do, people dismiss me as a babysitter. Story 145. Charities need volunteers and donations. Any time or items you no longer need are appreciated. Story 146. I'm a relatively new pastor. I've heard some people say we only work 1 day a week, which is not the case. I write sermons, create Bible studies, organize events, manage property, make house visits, and am ready to give advice, among other duties. Ministry can be draining, but I love it. Story 147. If your data integrity is poor, I cannot perform effective analysis. Secondly, my role is not to clean data. There are no fast methods if there is no consistent error that can be resolved with, for example, a formula. Provide good data, and I will give you good results. Data integrity is the responsibility of users, not analysts. If you want the data cleaned, hire a 20-year-old. I am 15 years into my career and not a workhorse anymore. Story 148. I hope you keep your promise not to shop at my store. Story 149. I am not pressing record on anything and am, in fact, much more accurate than voice recognition. Story 150. We were overworked, hungry, and irritable, surviving on coffee and dark humor. Story 151. Not just anyone can pick up Adobe Photoshop and become a graphic designer. Story 152. I cannot run the query select all from magic table of cleaned and complete data where answer class is simple. Definitely not at 5:30 in the evening on a Friday. Story 153. I am a chemist. There are many things people do not understand. A common misconception is that my daily work involves mixing chemicals and watching them explode. Story 154. This job involves much more time sitting in front of a computer than you would expect for a job typically performed outdoors. Story 155. Everyone knows I earn a high six-figure income, but no one understands all the hard work that goes into it. Story 156. Medical laboratory scientist. No, I am not a doctor. I do not diagnose patients. I do not just push buttons all day. We spend much of our time problem solving and handling a mountain of regulations and paperwork. We provide valid, scientifically accurate results that doctors use to treat patients. Story 157. I am not playing games all day. I am fucking developing them. Story 158. People think my job is just fun and games and singing songs. I develop and teach curriculum aligned to standards and objectives. My job is not to give classroom teachers a break. I am an elementary music teacher. Story 159. They think we are beneath them because we get our hands dirty with their excrement. Story 160. Large customers, such as universities and corporations, can be abusive and disrespectful toward the people who help them. Story 161. Banker. We do not have the answers to all of your financial problems. Different departments exist for that reason. No, I cannot reset your online banking or give you investment advice. Also, we do not charge fees because we hate you. If we did not charge fees on a regular basis, we could get into serious trouble with internal auditing. Story 162. I work for a logistics company that moves inventory for a well-known car dealership. My job is to drive the cars that do not make it onto the trucks. Because I am driving the inventory itself, I am monitored by a global positioning system using the same software they use. At Amazon, so 9 times out of 10, I am the slowest person on the road. It is incredibly frustrating, especially when I keep losing the magnet that indicates global positioning system monitoring, so everyone thinks I am just a slow grandpa or something. No, I am just doing my job. Story 163. Teachers do not give grades. They calculate them. Some teachers can be biased and use their authority. If you use a standardized rubric, you are simply calculating the grade the students assign to themselves. Story 164. I am not very smart and I do not know how to fix your printer, uncles and aunts. I am earning on the higher end as a junior software engineer. Story 165. Legal aid attorney says I cannot actually fix every problem in your life. Story 166. I do not set the prices for your cruise, and I am not the reason the price changed in the 3 weeks it took you to get back to me. Story 167. You may think I build the barriers that sit in the center of motorways in the United Kingdom. In fact, I can tell you which cars are safe and which can cause limb loss in a crash. Crash barrier engineer. I hope the community does not think fondly of Tesla. Story 168. I cannot fix your home's electrical problems if you bring the issue up after inviting me over for dinner and drinks. I do not have any tools. Story 169. Heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. People assume that when I recommend something it is because I will make more money or because I want to sell them service later. That is not the case. I recommend products to avoid problems. Every job, customer, and situation is different, but I always ask what I would do if this were my house. I recommend the equipment I would choose for my own home because I do not want to deal with failures. I will perform routine maintenance, but I do not want anything to break and I want systems to last as long as possible. Story 170. I am a professional vehicle wrap installer. Most people think my job is easy and that you can do it yourself in a couple of days. I teach a class on vehicle wrapping, and I have had a couple of students who had never touched a squeegee before take on full wrap jobs the weekend after the class. I would like to think I was that good a teacher, but charging money for something this intricate the week after learning the basics is crazy, especially since they undercut me by half the price and tell clients it will look like paint. It has taken me 14 years to reach this skill level. They have had 14 hours of experience. Story 171. Software engineer here. I cannot hack your boyfriend's Instagram for you. Universities do not offer a class called How to Repair Printers. I will not build your multimillion-dollar project if it is a scam or merely an online store. I am not good at math. I only know how to center a div element using cascading style sheets. Story 172. Sometimes when I would tell people that I worked in psychology, they would instantly tense up and act as if I could read their minds. Story 173. You don't have to like kids to be a teacher. It can be easier to teach if you don't particularly like children. Story 174. Quality control. I do not care about quality or making things work correctly. I care only that, if you are doing things correctly, I do not have to be bothered or address the situation. Story 175. I am not trying to rob you, I am not making this up, and I did not damage it on purpose to get more money from you. Your car does need all these parts to keep working safely and reliably. Story 176. I work for a nonprofit and there is a belief that boils down to, if we are too big, we are no longer good. We cannot put every cent toward our cause. A nonprofit still has to function like a business in that we have paid staff, legal support, an information technology department, and human resources. We have facilities and transportation costs. We could cut some excess, but we operate much leaner than most private businesses I know. For the most part, a cut means we provide fewer services. Story 177. The money from your veterinary bills does not go toward our wages as much as some of you think. Most technicians are paid little more than minimum wage, and veterinarians in New York City typically reach a maximum of about $120,000 while carrying around $500,000 in student loan debt. We are not charging high prices out of greed. That is simply how expensive medical care and supplies are when you do not have pet insurance. Story 178. Technical support cannot provide a magic fix-it button. View what is on your screen, or remotely access your computer. Story 179. Just because I'm a software developer doesn't mean I know about all other areas of information technology. That's like asking your dermatologist to diagnose your knee injury. Story 180. I am a certified public accountant. I do corporate accounting. I do not handle personal tax returns, and I do not prepare my own taxes. Story 181. I cannot control the outcome of any of these games. I may spin the ball or deal the cards, but I am the only one without a say in what happens. Sincerely, a casino dealer. Story 182. Yes, my business is listed as landscaping, but I do not cut grass or trim bushes. Most people do not know what hardscaping is. Story 183. Without my product, many things would not be possible. Story 184. I don't understand why, when other departments fall apart, Everyone expects accounting to handle it. What about our regular financial reporting and miscellaneous projects, that is, budgeting, tax compliance, and forecasting? We also need to maintain contracts and moonlight as the company's general counsel. Story 185. I am an attorney. Less a gunslinger, more of a card player. Story 186. It bores me every time I hear people say it is easy and that we must be desperate to do this line of work. Story 187. I cannot design and deliver everything for you in one day. Story 188. They think I can indoctrinate and brainwash students. I can barely get them to practice proper hygiene. Story 189. I am not trying to make your day difficult by preventing you from installing random software on your computer or by enforcing multi-factor authentication. I also cannot hack into your ex's Instagram account. If I could do that, I would not be working here. I can see most of what you do on your computer, but I neither have the time nor the interest to see what you are searching for online. Story 190. It is actually just searching the web, some office politics, and entertaining yourself while looking busy. Story 191. Volunteer firefighters suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder. Help as best you can, but take care of yourself. Story 192. I am a systems engineer. Although there are many different types, no one truly understands what I do when I describe it. Story 193. Custom fabricated parts do not grow on trees. I need time not only to issue a purchase order but also for the vendor to make the part. I do not care if it is a simple part you could make in an hour. If you wait to release the part drawings to me, the project will be late, over budget, or both. I cannot order an entire machine's worth of parts and expect to receive them in less than a week. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.